Emily stood at the altar, her heart pounding beneath the layers of her white dress. Jake, her fiancé, faced her with that familiar grin she'd fallen for 3 years ago. The officiant's voice droned on about love and commitment, but Emily barely heard it. Her eyes locked on Jake's, imagining the life ahead, weekend hikes, late-night talks, maybe a kid or two down the line. It was supposed to be the happiest day of her life. The guests smiled from their seats, the venue glowed with golden light, and everything felt right. Until her mother, Linda, leaned in close, her breath hot against Emily's ear. "He's not who you think he is," Linda whispered. The words hit like a slap. Emily's smile faltered, but she didn't turn. Not yet. She couldn't. The ceremony continued, Jake oblivious, the crowd unaware. But those 6 words burrowed into her mind, sharp and unyielding. What did Linda mean? Why now? Emily's hands tightened around her bouquet, the stems digging into her palms. She wanted to scream, to demand answers, but she stood frozen, trapped between the life she'd planned and the shadow her mother had just cast over it. The day before, everything had been different. Emily's apartment buzzed with laughter as her bridesmaids flitted around her, sipping champagne and fussing over her dress. She sat on the couch, barefoot, a glass in hand, feeling lighter than she had in months. Jake popped in briefly, his dark hair tousled from the wind outside. He kissed her forehead, lingering just long enough to make her blush. "Tomorrow's the big day, babe," she said, grinning up at him. "No cold feet, right?" "Never," he replied, his voice steady. "You're my forever, Em." She believed him. Why wouldn't she? Jake was the guy who remembered she liked her coffee black, who surprised her with a trip to the Grand Canyon because she'd mentioned it once in passing. 3 years together, and he'd never given her a reason to doubt him. To Emily, he was perfect, her rock, her future. But as he left the room, his hand brushed the doorframe, and something flickered in his eyes. A shadow, maybe. Or nothing at all. She didn't notice it then. Across the apartment, Linda sat alone in the kitchen. She scrolled through her phone, her lips pressed into a thin line. At 55, she carried herself with the kind of authority that made people listen, whether they wanted to or not. Her graying hair was pulled back tight, her posture rigid. She'd always been hard on Emily, pushing her to be better, stronger, smarter, but lately, she'd been quieter, distant. Now, as she stared at her screen, she muttered under her breath. She deserves to know, even if it breaks her. Back in the living room, Emily tried on her veil. Sarah, her best friend and maid of honor, adjusted it with careful hands. At 27, Sarah was all sharp wit and easy smiles, the kind of person who lit up a room without trying. She'd been Emily's anchor since college, the one who'd introduced her to Jake in the first place. "You're glowing, Em," Sarah said, stepping back to admire her. "Jake's a lucky guy." "I'm the lucky one," Emily replied, her voice soft. "He's my rock." The words hung in the air, warm and certain. But then Linda appeared in the doorway, her presence cutting through the chatter like a cold wind. She stood there, hands clasped, staring at Emily with an intensity that made the room feel smaller. The bridesmaids didn't notice, too caught up in their giggles and plans, but Emily did. She always did. "We need to talk," Linda said. Her tone left no room for argument. "Alone." Emily frowned, tugging the veil off. "Mom, can it wait? I'm kind of in the middle of—" "No," Linda cut in. "It can't." The firmness in her voice sent a shiver down Emily's spine. She hesitated, glancing at Sarah, who shrugged as if to say, "Your mom, your problem." With a sigh, Emily followed Linda to a quiet corner of the apartment, away from the laughter and clinking glasses. The air between them thickened, heavy with something unspoken. Linda's eyes bore into her daughter's, searching, weighing. Emily crossed her arms, suddenly feeling less like a bride and more like a child about to be scolded. "What's going on?" she asked, her voice sharper than she intended. "You're freaking me out." Linda didn't answer right away. She took a slow breath, her hands tightening at her sides. Whatever she was about to say, it wasn't small. It wasn't a forgotten RSVP or a petty complaint. It was bigger, darker. And as the seconds stretched on, Emily's stomach twisted into knots. She didn't know it yet, but her perfect day, her perfect life, was already slipping away. Every family has secrets. Some are harmless, tucked away like old photos in a drawer. Others are jagged, waiting to cut deep when they finally surface. Linda had one of those secrets, and she'd carried it long enough. Now, with her daughter on the brink of forever, she held the truth like a loaded gun. One pull of the trigger, and everything would change. Emily faced her mother in the quiet corner of the apartment, the bridesmaids' chatter a distant hum. Linda's expression was stern, her hands clasped tight, as if bracing for a storm. "What's going on, Mom?" Emily asked, her voice edged with unease. "You're worrying me." Linda met her gaze. "It's about Jake. You deserve the truth before you marry him." Emily tried to laugh, but it came out thin. "What? Did he mess up the seating chart? Just tell me." "He was too close with Sarah," Linda said evenly. 2 years ago. While you were together." The statement landed hard. Emily's breath hitched as she processed it. Jake, with Sarah, her best friend, her maid of honor. 2 years ago, they just moved in together, planning a life. Could it be true? Her mind rebelled, clinging to denial. "No," she said, stepping back. "That's ridiculous. Jake wouldn't. Sarah wouldn't." "I saw them," Linda replied. "At that bar downtown you never liked. They were alone, laughing closer than friends should be. I didn't tell you then because you were happy. But now, with the wedding tomorrow, you need to know." Emily's chest tightened. She pictured Jake's warm smile, Sarah's easy presence. 2 years ago, she'd been swamped with work, stressed over rent. Jake had been quieter then, blamed it on his job. Sarah had been around more, helping with errands. It didn't prove anything, did it? "Why wait until now?" Emily asked, her tone sharp. "If you saw something, why not tell me then?" "Because I wasn't sure," Linda said. She pulled out her phone and held it up. On the screen was a photo. Jake and Sarah in a dimly lit booth, heads bent close, smiling. The timestamp read July 17th, 2023. 2 years ago, exactly as Linda claimed. Emily's hands shook as she stared at it. "This doesn't mean anything. They're just talking." "Doesn't it?" Linda pressed. "I overheard him last week, on the phone with her. He said, 'She can't find out. He's keeping something from you.'" The words stung, planting seeds of doubt. Emily turned away, her veil forgotten on the floor. She needed space, air, anything to clear her head. "I can't do this right now," she muttered, brushing past Linda. She stepped outside, the evening breeze cool against her flushed cheeks. Her phone buzzed. Jake, texting about the rehearsal dinner.
"See you soon, babe."
She stared at the message, her stomach nodding. Was it real, or just another mask? Linda stayed behind, watching her daughter go. She'd always been tough on Emily, teaching her to question, to stand firm. Years ago, she'd revealed Emily's father's lies, breaking their family apart. Emily had resented her for it then. Now, the same bitterness bubbled up, mixed with confusion. Sarah appeared in the hallway, her smile bright. "Hey, where'd you disappear to?" "We're toasting you." Emily froze. Sarah looked so carefree, so genuine. Could she hide a betrayal like that? "Just talking to Mom," Emily managed, forcing a smile. "I'll be there soon." Sarah nodded and walked off, unaware of the storm brewing. Emily's thoughts raced. If Linda was right, how long had they deceived her? The wedding loomed, tomorrow, hours away. The dress, the vows, the guests. Could she face Jake, not knowing? Could she let Sarah stand beside her? She typed a quick text to Jake. "We need to talk.
Now."
Then she waited, her pulse thudding. Minutes later, he replied. "On my way." Emily paced the sidewalk, the photo flashing in her mind. Linda could be mistaken. She had to be. But the doubt lingered, persistent and cold. Jake's car pulled up, and he stepped out, his brow creased with concern. What's wrong?" he asked, reaching for her hand. She pulled back. "Were you too close with Sarah?" 2 years ago. His eyes flickered with surprise, then he chuckled.
What? No.
Where's this coming from? Mom saw you, she said, her voice trembling. She has a picture. Jake's laugh faded. He rubbed the back of his neck, a nervous tic. Your mom's jumping to conclusions. She doesn't like me, you know that. Then explain this, she said, showing him the photo Linda had sent. He studied it, his jaw tightening. That's nothing. We were just hanging out, catching up. It was a rough time, work was crazy. You were busy. It didn't mean anything. Didn't mean anything, she echoed. You were with my best friend, Jake. Alone.
Why didn't you tell me?
It wasn't a big deal, he said, stepping closer.
I promisi, eminência.
I love you. She wanted to believe him, to let his words smooth over the cracks. But they didn't. He hadn't explained the closeness, the secrecy. The photo stared back at her, a question she couldn't unask. And as he stood there, insisting, she felt the ground shift beneath her perfect life. Emily stood on the sidewalk, the evening air biting at her skin as Jake faced her. His explanation hung between them, thin, unsteady, like a thread about to snap. The photo of him and Sarah lingered on her phone, a blurry accusation she couldn't shake. He'd called it nothing, just a moment of catching up. But his eyes darted away when he said it, and that told her more than his words. Why didn't you tell me? She asked again, her voice low but firm. If it was nothing, why hide it? Jake sighed, shoving his hands into his pockets. I didn't hide it, Em. It just never came up. You were working late all the time. I was stressed. Sarah was around. We grabbed a drink. That's it. That's it, she repeated. Mom heard you on the phone last week, Jake. Telling Sarah I can't find out. What can I find out? His face paled, just for a moment, before he recovered. She's twisting things. I was probably talking about the bachelor party, some dumb surprise that didn't even happen. Your mom's out to get me. Always has been. Emily's throat tightened. She wanted to believe him, to cling to the life they'd built. But Linda's words, that photo, the way Jake shifted under her gaze, it all gnawed at her. She glanced back at the apartment, where Sarah laughed with the bridesmaids, oblivious. Could her best friend really betray her? Could Jake? I need time, she said finally, turning away. I can't do this right now. Come on, he called after her. The rehearsal's in an hour. We're getting married tomorrow. She didn't answer. She walked back inside, her mind a tangle of doubt and hurt. Linda waited in the kitchen, arms crossed, watching her daughter with that same unreadable look. Did you talk to him? Linda asked. Yeah, Emily said, her voice flat. He says it's nothing. That you're wrong. Linda snorted. Of course he does. He's good at talking his way out of things. But you saw the picture. You heard what I heard. Stop, Emily snapped. Just stop. I don't know what to believe anymore. Linda softened, just a fraction. I'm not trying to hurt you, I just don't want you trapped in a lie. Emily didn't respond. She grabbed her purse and slipped out, needing distance from everyone, Jake, Linda, even Sarah. She drove to a quiet park nearby, the one where Jake had proposed last spring. The memory stung now. He'd gotten down on one knee under an oak tree, grinning like a kid, promising her forever. She'd said yes, without a second thought. Now, she sat on a bench, staring at her engagement ring, wondering if forever was built on sand. Her phone buzzed. Sarah. Where are you? Rehearsal's starting soon. Emily hesitated, then typed back. Not feeling great. I'll catch up later. She couldn't face Sarah yet, not with that photo burning in her mind. The rehearsal dinner came and went without her. Texts piled up, Jake asking if she was okay, Sarah joking about her missing the appetizers. Emily ignored them all. She stayed at the park until dusk, replaying every moment with Jake and Sarah. The late nights he'd come home tired. The times Sarah had canceled plans at the last minute. Small things she'd brushed off. Were they clues? When she finally returned home, the apartment was empty, the bridesmaids gone. Linda had left a note, "Call me if you need me." Emily crumpled it and tossed it aside. She sank onto the couch, pulling up the photo again. Jake and Sarah, so close, so comfortable. Too comfortable. A knock broke her thoughts. She opened the door to find Sarah, still in her rehearsal dress, concern etched on her face. "You okay?" Sarah asked, stepping inside. "Jake said you guys had a fight. What's going on?" Emily's heart raced. This was her chance. She could pretend nothing was wrong, let it go until after the wedding.
Or she could ask.
She took a breath and held up her phone, the photo glaring between them. "Explain this," she said. Sarah's eyes widened. Where did you get that?" "Doesn't matter," Emily said. "Were you and Jake too close?" 2 years ago. Sarah laughed, but it was nervous, off-key.
En comió.
"That's ridiculous. We were just hanging out. You were working all the time and he was stressed. I was being a friend." "That's what he said," Emily replied, her voice steady. "But Mom saw you. She thinks it was more." "Your mom?" Sarah's tone sharpened. "She's always stirring things up. You know that. Look, I'd never hurt you. Neither would Jake." Emily studied her. Sarah's words sounded right, her face earnest. But there was a flicker, something in her eyes, a hesitation. Or was Emily imagining it? Doubt twisted tighter, a knot she couldn't untie. "I don't know what to think," Emily admitted. "But I need the truth. Before tomorrow." Sarah reached for her hand. "You've got it. There's nothing to tell. I swear." Emily nodded, but her grip stayed loose. Sarah left, promising to see her at the wedding. Alone again, Emily sat in the dark, the ring heavy on her finger. Jake's excuse. Sarah's denial. Linda's warning. They clashed in her head, each pulling her a different way. Tomorrow, she'd walk down the aisle or she wouldn't. But first she needed answers. Real ones. Emily barely slept. The nights stretched long and restless, her mind replaying Jake's excuses, Sarah's assurances, and Linda's warnings. By morning, the wedding day dawned bright and unrelenting. Her dress hung in the closet, a silent question. She stared at it, her engagement ring glinting on her finger. Today, she'd either marry Jake or walk away. But first, she needed the truth, whole and unfiltered. She texted Jake and Sarah to meet her at the apartment before the ceremony. No explanations, just a time, 9 a.m. They arrived together, Jake in a suit jacket, Sarah in her maid of honor dress, both wearing cautious smiles. Emily stood in the living room, still in her sweats, the photo on her phone ready like a loaded question. "We need to talk," she said, her voice steady despite the tremor in her chest. "No more half answers. I want the truth." Jake frowned. We've been over this. There's nothing." "Stop," she cut in. "Mom saw you too. She heard you, Jake, saying I can't find out. I've got a picture of you closer than friends should be. Explain it. Together." Sarah glanced at Jake, her smile faltering. I told you it was nothing. Just a night out." "Then why hide it?" Emily pressed. "Why didn't either of you mention it? 2 years ago, I was working myself to death, and you were, what? Catching up." Jake rubbed his neck, his telltale sign of nerves. "Okay, look. It was a rough patch. You were gone all the time, and I was messed up about work. Sarah was there. We hung out more than we should have. But it wasn't anything big." "More than you should have?" Emily echoed. "What does that mean?" Sarah stepped forward. "It means we got too comfortable. We'd vent to each other, about you, about life. It wasn't right, but it wasn't some big betrayal." Emily's stomach twisted. "You vented about me? Behind my back?" "It wasn't like that," Jake said quickly. "We just leaned on each other. You were so busy, I didn't want to burden you." "So you burdened Sarah instead?" Her voice rose, sharp with hurt. "And neither of you thought I should know?" Silence settled, thick and heavy. Jake looked at Sarah, then back at Emily. "We messed up," he admitted. "I should have told you. But I didn't want you to think it was more than it was." "Which was what?" she asked. "Tell me exactly what I'm walking into today." Sarah took a breath. "We got close. Too close, maybe, for a little while. But it stopped. We realized it was wrong and we backed off. That's it, Em. I promise. Emily studied them. Jake's pleading eyes, Sarah's tense posture. No grand confession. No dramatic reveal. Just a quiet, messy truth. They'd crossed a line, kept it from her, and let it fester. It wasn't the worst she'd feared, but it wasn't nothing. Trust, once solid, now felt brittle in her hands. She turned away, staring out the window. Guests would arrive soon. The venue waited. Her dress waited. But her heart didn't. I can't do this, she said finally, her voice barely above a whisper. What? Jake stepped closer.
Encomio.
We're so close. Don't throw it away over this. It's not about throwing it away, she said, facing him. It's about what I deserve. I deserve someone who doesn't hide things. Who doesn't lean on my best friend instead of me. And Sarah, she looked at her, eyes stinging. I deserved your honesty, too. Sarah's face crumpled. I'm sorry, Em. I should have told you. Yeah, Emily said. You should have. Jake reached for her hand, but she pulled back. I love you, he said. We can fix this. Maybe, she replied. But not today. She slipped the ring off and set it on the table. The weight lifted, but the ache stayed. Jake stared at it, stunned, while Sarah wiped her eyes. What about the wedding? He asked. Tell them I'm sick, Emily said. Tell them whatever you want. I'm done pretending. They left, Jake with slumped shoulders, Sarah with a quiet goodbye. Emily sank onto the couch, alone in the silence. Her phone buzzed, Linda, asking if she was okay. She didn't answer.
Not yet.
Hours later, she stood at the park where Jake had proposed. The oak tree loomed above her, a witness to a promise that didn't hold. She didn't cry. She didn't rage. She just breathed, letting the pieces settle. The wedding was off, the guests sent home, the future unwritten. It hurt, losing Jake, losing Sarah, but it also felt right. For the first time in days, she chose herself. Linda showed up eventually, finding her on the bench. She didn't say much, just sat beside her. You did the hard thing, she said at last. Yeah, Emily replied. I did. The sun dipped low, casting long shadows. Emily didn't know what came next, forgiveness, starting over, something else. But she knew one thing. She wouldn't build her life on half-truths. Not anymore.